Everybody, it's Ted Bogert. Welcome back to the TED Show. We have had an amazing day and we are going to finish it with an amazingly wonderful lady who is coming to us all the way from the other side of the world. Cathy Dimarchos is with us. Solutions to You is her company. And I love the title of this show, Don't Sleepwalk Through Life. I love that because so many people do exactly that and then wonder where their lives went. So welcome, Cathy. Thank you so much for coming on the show. How are you today?
I'm very well. Thank you so much, Ted. It's such a joy to actually be here, and I love the energy. It's 7 a.m. here, and so for me, hearing your voice, just so enthusiastic, it's like, yes, get on with the day.
Yes, if we started at 7 my time, it wouldn't sound quite like that, Cathy. So I am very happy that you're getting it at 4 o'clock in the afternoon time, my time. All right, so I'm excited to learn more. Before we went live, I told you that the audience loves origin stories. So tell us a little bit about your journey, and then we will talk about not sleepwalking through life.
All right. Well, I'm going to give you the ADD version because I've had lots of twists and turns, Ted. So this is the abridged version. I'm, I guess, a first-generation migrant here in Australia, and my parents really came here looking for a better life. However, my father was actually ill for most of my life, which meant that my mother really worked around the clock, and I was raised by my grandmother. And it's interesting because only recently have I really realized, gosh, I've really been shaped as a child and didn't realize all the values that actually were, instilled in me. My career, I'm going to go into junctures, so that to give you a good overview. So my career started in banking, and I really wanted to do medicine. However, I shared with you that my dad was ill. And so for me, seeing my mother seriously working around the clock, she had 3 jobs.
Wow.
It dawned on me that I really needed to start contributing back. Not that I wasn't, because I was actually working part-time through school, but they put me through private education. Mum did, right? So for me, that was my way of saying, you know what, I can actually put what I really want on the back burner. And I had sat for an exam through the financial institutions, and they offered me a job before I even got my final year exams. So it was like, oh my gosh, this is just meant to happen. So I took that opportunity, which led me into finance. In my mid-20s, when the global financial crisis hit, I was working in the finance sector in an area called asset management. So sadly, that also incorporated looking at businesses, not just to see how I can actually create a new strategy for them to enable them to get through that financial crisis, but there was recovery work, so a lot of litigation work. And very late one night, Ted, I had a suicidal client on the phone. That client, in that moment, all that I could think of was, oh my gosh, I am so ill-equipped. It doesn't matter how good I am at my job. What am I meant to do? And then it dawned on me, what a privilege, Cathy. What a privilege that out of everybody that they knew, she reached out to you. So that then became that road of what else? What else could I do? Who else could I be? So I undertook a 4-year degree and became a qualified counsellor whilst I stayed in finance.
I love that.
And then I practiced for 3 years, because for me, it's not about talking the talk. It's about being able to walk the talk. People said to me, you're crazy. But all that I could think of was, I work with people all the time. It will come in handy. And I can tell you, I'm so grateful that I actually took that path, because in everything that I have done, it has always been to have people at the center of everything that I do. So comes, I guess, a time in my life where I thought I needed to leave the banking institutions and go out on my own. So I took a 4-year sabbatical when I had my second child. in the meantime, I had actually been threatened by, you know, personally and my family by not a client, but somebody who was in business with that client. So that 4-year sabbatical was really good for me. It actually enabled me to do a whole lot of different things. But what it showed me is that, you know, I could do things other than finance. So I went into the educational sector. I did sales. And then when I went back, it was because somebody had said to me, can you please come out and help? And I said, I don't want to think. I've just come out of a really stressful environment. I don't want to think. And they said, very clever people, these guys. Whatever job you think doesn't make you think. Well, I got bored really quickly. So I started to actually work for these entrepreneurs that had something like 10 different businesses, which made my brain start to think that there's more to life. You don't have to ever stick to one thing.
Yes.
You could be the whole of you and do a whole lot of things. Fast track down the track, I ended up coming into an industry that's securitization, which you probably know, Ted, right? Securitization, you know, requires a whole lot of legislation in the industry, the finance industry. So I had to hold licenses. And in that time, I was then consulting to lots of businesses. Well, I reached a stage which after 20 years, I'd been setting up and scaling businesses since 1997.
Wow.
And using my counseling skills. But during that time, a whole lot of other things started to happen. And so I broke off on my own. But the next pinnacle point was in 2014 when Ebola broke out. And my daughter, ripe age of 16, says, when I finish my higher school certificate, I want to go to Africa. And my husband says, Ebola's just broken out. Why are you going to go there?
Sounds like a dad for sure.
And then followed, no. And I sat at the dining room table and thought, I have to honor what he's experiencing and feeling, but I also have to actually enable her to fulfill a dream. This is a 16-year-old who hasn't just come up with something, that she's not actually committed to, because she'd been researching it for 6 months, what she wanted to do. So became the journey of how do I mitigate risk? How do I actually enable her to, fulfill her dream? So I actually joined her. She left. And Ted, when you have that moment and you think, have I made the right decision?
Yes, I do.
That was for me at the airport. She placed her hand on the glass on the other side of customs, and I placed mine on top. And in that moment, I thought, oh my gosh, I don't even know where she's going. Like, I know nothing about where she's going. All that I've done is put in a structure. So she went with projects abroad. So there's structure there, but I know nothing else. And part of that journey was for her to also spend time with a Maasai. So after a month of her being there, I then joined her for the next 2 months. And, this was her journey, Ted. And I can tell you that it was probably the most challenging time in my life. But gosh, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself, my own biases, my own triggers. The fact that I also actually recognized that I needed to leave my Western world behind to actually be present became incredibly important. But the one thing that I know that I was so conscious of being so present in that moment, I left behind my own, I guess, intuition at times. And there was a trauma that I can tell you I live with to this day, because I had instinct about one particular person whilst I was living out in the middle of Ngorongoro. For 3 weeks we were there living with a Maasai. So yes, I didn't shower for 3 weeks because water's just not, it just doesn't exist, right? But in that moment, a lot happened for me. I realized that I needed to do more and I needed to be more. So that quest for her, one day sitting at the dining table, became me saying, I really hate my life. And my husband and my son looked at me and said, Mum, we've been listening to you now for 4 months saying that that's a privileged life. That's a privileged life. And we know that what you and Sarissa have experienced, we can't imagine. But you can't say that you hate life because this is the life that you've been born into. And I thought, how profound. That means that I can do something about it. So I continued to actually then work in Tanzania. We did several trips, and it was almost 12 to 18 months we would be back in Tanzania, and I'd work in orphanages, and we'd do a whole array of things. However, when the pandemic hit, my next, I guess, crisis happened. So in that moment, I had my dad have a tragic fall that led to a brain bleed. The day before my father actually passed away, my mother actually had a heart failure on the way to the hospital in the car. She had to be transported to a different hospital. And that's when I realized I really, really needed to do more. I really needed to be more. So I then actually called upon all the women and the men that I'd actually been working with in Tanzania and said, bring all of the people that you know that are values-based, that actually are very focused on giving back to community. And I will actually start online leadership programs because you're suffering just as much as me. And I know business inside out. So I can actually help you. I've been leading teams, leadership development. I've done coaching, that was part of my training. I will actually help support you guys online. And I started my first book. So for me, it is whenever there's a crisis, it means that it's time for us to pause. That's the moment where we really wake up in life. When we're actually really present to understand what else we can actually do for those around us, rather than just going inward and saying, why me? Or, oh my gosh, now what am I going to do? That's the moment where we really need to wake up and go, what else? What else can I possibly do? Who else can I possibly help? And how can I actually create that path forward? And so for me, it has been an ongoing quest of how can I actually make this bigger? How can I create greater impact in life and show others to do exactly the same? And so this is where I am today. I build and scale businesses globally. I know how to do that really well. So I gift my knowledge. I work from lived experiences. I use my counseling skills to break through barriers. And let me tell you, where people have had somebody working with them for 2 years and they realize that they're just not getting what they want, all of a sudden people reach out to me. I'm known as the alchemist in business. I break through those barriers and we can do things. Magic happens. So that's what I do in my full-time work. But I also run leadership programs now, so for kids. And what I've done is I've actually taken what I really show as part of my programs in leadership development and in executive coaching. I've developed those into programs starting from the age of 12. And they run from 4 weeks to 6 weeks when they're a little bit older to 6 months when they're actually leaving school and wanting to either become leaders of tomorrow or entrepreneurs that are going to actually shape a better tomorrow. And so I fund those programs in Tanzania. We put through 160 kids through a 4-week program just recently. And that is my purpose in life. That's how I actually don't sleepwalk through life. I embed myself in how I can honestly create a better tomorrow. My books are actually all about that. It's actually about leaving those tips and those tangible skills behind so that they too can do the same. I do that in business, but I also do that for our future generation. And so that's what I'm actually asking everybody to join me on that journey on. If you think that there's a little bit left in you to give to somebody else, then join me on the quest. If you want to find out more, reach out. I'm all showing others.
I have to say, without a doubt, that is the best journey description, most succinct yet detailed yet emotional, that I think out of 1,400 plus shows I've done, I didn't have to say a word for 14 minutes.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's a beautiful thing. No, the show, nobody wants to hear me talk. They're here for you. So what I loved, there's so many things that I loved about that. First of all, there are so many people that watch the show and they're looking for that motivation. They don't believe that their life can change. They don't believe that they have the power. They don't have the skills. They don't have the support that they think they need. And there's a lot of reasons why they can't do something that they feel like they should. They feel like they know what their purpose is, but they look for any reason to not. They shut it down, self-sabotage. So what I loved about everything that you shared is that you gave us where you had your moments and you showed us where the epiphanies happened, and you gave us what the path was, your struggles. That is the magic, Cathy. And that was amazing, by the way. I loved it. I think we need that in our world right now. There are so many people all over the world that are struggling. COVID, the pandemic, really brought a lot of craziness out, but it also created so much opportunity for us to have those epiphanies and those changes that you spoke about. But a lot of people need a little push and a little help, which you have books. You're obviously changing lives in Tanzania and all over the place with what you do. So kudos to you. I loved every second of that story and journey. So I'm going to ask you now, what is the best way for people to find out more about you than you've shared and reach out to you and engage you?
Through my website or through LinkedIn. So solutions to you. So you can see it up there. It's the number 2 and the U, because I love you. So solutionstoyou.com.au or on LinkedIn, just under my name.
It's amazing. All right. Truly, I'm in awe. That was what a beautiful day this has been. This was a great way to end the amazing. I've had you'll be the 4th woman on the show today, and what a great amount of insight and love and passion and compassion. So I appreciate you sharing that. I think it's important, and you will have motivated and moved many people, I have no doubt in my mind. Tell them, I told you a little bit before we went live, I talked about heroes. This is Women's History Month. And so I'm asking every guest, when I say the word hero, what woman comes to mind for you?
I'm going to say Mother Teresa. And again, that links back to Tanzania, because my daughter's name is Sarissa, but they couldn't quite say it. And I love everything about Mother Teresa, but they used to call my daughter Mother Teresa.
No way. That's so
cool. She became known as the Maasai girl. So she really actually, she could speak Swahili when I arrived a month later. So she really embedded herself, and I will forever be grateful that she had the vision to actually take that journey at the age of 16, because it reshaped who I chose to be in life.
Beautiful. And isn't that's such an important lesson too? Parents, age does not have everything to do with it. So don't doubt when you have a child that has passion like that. That is whatever your faith, whatever the universe, whatever you believe, that is innate in them. And that is something that has to be birthed. And you don't ever want to shut that down. Cathy, please come back anytime. I want you all to reach out to Cathy on LinkedIn, which we have that link. And of course, her website, which is scrolling across there. Have a beautiful day in Australia. It's now 7:20. And please come back on anytime. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with all of us.
Thank you, Ted. It has been such a joy, and you are just this incredible energy. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, y'all. You're looking to make your change. You want to do it. Cathy did it. Cathy got motivated by her 16-year-old daughter as part of that and changed her entire trajectory of her life. So stop doubting that. Reach out to Cathy, read some of her books, engage her, and change your life too. We'll see you guys later. Have a beautiful